Good afternoon. Welcome to C&T Collectibles. This is C, and today we're going to go over our Friday chart blast. And this is where we look at the price action of some of our favorite collectibles. Price is truth, so we can kind of predict. When people make predictions going up, going down, we're just going to look at the price and let the price tell us what is going on here. And we're going to start off with Mike Trout. So you had your big breakout here, very low volume move. So we're looking for it to come back into an area right into this range here. Got a quick spike down, and we're hoping that was it, and we could continue to consolidate sideways before moving higher. Although it looks like the prices are starting to compress lower, which is not a great sign for the overall market. Momentum continues to trend down, so it threw up a little buy signal here, but quickly reversed itself. And so we've got this resistance level here, and as prices compress lower, this is kind of your support level, this is your resistance level. As it compresses lower, you do have to favor more downside. It hasn't happened yet. We'll see how it plays out here, but the sellers are coming in quicker and quicker on this thing here. So we really want to see a break above this. So you look at the PSA 10, $2,200, PSA 9, $1,800. So that would imply a higher price here. But what I'm seeing in a lot of these cards is the PSA 9s are holding up a lot better to their PSA 10 brothers. And so the old saying was PSA 10s are for the investors and PSA 9s are for the collectors. And I think I think you're seeing a lot of the big money, a lot of the investors get out. They bought in last year and they're moving on to other things maybe at this point. You're just not seeing the same level of buying in a lot of this stuff here. So those PSA 10s are starting to compress, while the PSA 9 and a lot of things are holding up relatively well, and those 3-to-1 ratios are getting kind of thrown off a little bit, and you'll see this more as we go along here. But anyways, momentum doesn't look good and continues to trend down, although it's not it's very tightly knit bands here, so I wouldn't expect like sharp sell-offs or anything like that. You'll have these one-offs perhaps, but the prices are slowly grinding lower, and that $3,500 area seems really, really attractive. Hopefully that can hold. Unless you're looking to buy, then this breaks down, then you're looking at really low prices. But if you're holding a lot of high-end cards, it doesn't spell great things for that. So, all right, moving along to Mookie Betts, who's off to a kind of a slower start this year. So we had in 2020 this compression and a breakout, and we're seeing this compression again. And I'm being a little bit generous here with these bands here. So giving a little bit of extra space, and so you can see that you've got this compression triangle again, and it held on to the last bastion of hope here. And so we'll see if that's it. But really, you had this triangle here, and it broke down, is merely right now retesting the side. And so to be a real bull on Mookie Betts, you'd want to see this break above this area here, this downtrend line. Otherwise, if it continues to compress, it does favor with the momentum going negative, and it is kind of extended relative to where it was before. Lower prices, and you could see, what if you saw $400 or something like that, off from a high of over $1,000. Again, seeing a lot of this in the market here. Doesn't bode well for things. So you can be a bull above this, but right now there's a lot of indecision still, and you do have to kind of favor some downside here. So the PSA 10, $711, PSA 9, $226. So either way, it's kind of fairish or whatever, but PSA 9's holding in. But this thing was upwards of, I want to say $280, maybe even $300 or something. So they're both getting hit relatively hard, but this one the PSA 10 just a little bit more. All right, Vlad Guerrero, our beacon of hope here. So if there's any shining beacon in baseball card land, it's Vlad right now. So momentum looks good, and it's still in a pretty decent uptrend, but prices are compressing. A little bit of a fake break here, and again, these things are fairly thinly traded, so that's going to happen where you're going to have these one-offs, and there's nothing you can do about that. But you just be a little bit patient when you see these false moves. We see these quick spikes. They tend to correct into the previous trend here. So, but yeah, so it is traveling north, which is a good sign here. Now, this was a player that I liked a lot in the fall, but I made a mistake. I bought the PSA 9s. I thought there was a lot of relative value, and they just haven't caught up yet. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. PSA 10 sitting around $270, PSA 9 $60. So you would think this would be closer to a $90 card, and that just hasn't happened here. So with Vlad, he's off to an incredible start here, and we'll see what happens when he regresses, and he's bound to 208 weighted runs created, 386 BABIP, 350 average. That's probably not sustainable over the long term. So when he slumps, and eventually likely does at some point, what kind of a slump will it be? If it's an 0 for 20, or if he just has a 1 for 4 for a couple of weeks or something like that. We'll see how that kind of reacts. But things are looking good right now. But a break below this line does bring this down to a decent level. As your first level of support most likely, and that $200 level, which, not an insignificant move or anything like that. But again, the PSA 9, I would think that's catching up, but there's a lot of hesitation in that one here. Maybe people are waiting and this thing just keeps going. But again, for now, momentum looks good. Price looks good. Enough of my jabbering here. The Chrome getting hit just a little bit harder here. So traveling up, and this is what happens with these compressions. As you travel north, you kind of compress, and then eventually you break down here. So this one has broken its uptrend. Your best case right now is this is a fake move and someone can buy and get you back in, but perhaps you just go sideways for a while. So your line in the sand is right in here. Below that, you start to drop, and you can see that there was this quick move up. There's symmetry to markets here. If you have a quick move up here and this thing starts to leak back down, you could have a quick move back down into that area, which would be ridiculously cheap. And I don't know if it gets there, but again, the Chrome starting to lose some relative strength against the paper here, and that's kind of another thing. Just real briefly, a lot of the people that came into the hobby last year from other sports, they were looking for the Chrome cards, and you see weakness in a lot of the Chrome now. And I'm not gonna say true collectors, I'm not gonna be like that or anything like that, but the people that have been around for a little bit longer, like not that they like the paper more, but they like the graded paper more. It's harder to get good grades out of the paper, so you're seeing a lot of those chromes come off, and so that's another tell that a lot of the people that came in last year are maybe starting to hit the exits at this point now. So Ronald Acuna Jr., monster start to the year, but we pointed out this is a low volume move that could get quickly overwhelmed by selling, and that's what happened, bringing it back down to this level. So the trend is still up here, so you want to kind of hang out and see what happens. But this is where a lot of buying is in. So when we said, low volume moves can come back into an area where there's a lot of buying, and this is it right here. So giving you another opportunity here, $230 on the PSA 10, $67.50 on the PSA 9. So looks like those are pretty fairly valued relative to each other. So as long as it holds above this line, I think you're doing all right with Acuna. So we'll just watch that one like we do on a mostly weekly basis when I am not sick. Juan Soto, all right. Trouble in River City here. So the momentum was down for a while. So in this area here started to turn down, and we had this $280 level. Last time we talked about this, I said, it's got to hold this, but with the momentum turning over the way it is, do favor a break, unfortunately, to the downside. And with as little buying that was in this one here, we look for a similar move, a quick move back down to here. So said there's a lot of buying in this area. I don't know if it gets down there because that's probably way too cheap for Juan Soto. But it is you are seeing a lot of selling, not a lot of selling, but a lot of volatile moves down in this area here. So maybe there's a little bit more downside, but hopefully it can hold in here. If it drops even further, then you're talking about $150. This was almost a $400 card not that long ago. $380. So again, another big move. But look at that PSA 9, $90 versus a PSA 10 of $223. A lot of relative value in the PSA 9. It's held up. We can play a PSA 10 of $270 right up in there. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. But again, I think a lot of people are just saying, this market's getting a little skittish, but we'll put money into it, but maybe on the lower end things here. So the update. So here's the PSA 10 longer term, and you can see it's broken its trend here. So 1 second. Apologies, Bath Night. Not for me, because that'd just be weird if I was doing this in the tub. So anyways, broken uptrend here, and we know that the momentum is down. And so we're hoping that this level holds, but really this is a kind of a logical level, which again might be too cheap, but something could happen. Keeps playing the way he's playing, which I think is unlikely. Then that's an issue here. But you're kind of in no man's land with Juan Soto. They call it catching a falling knife. You don't want to catch one of those. Let it bounce first. You're not going to catch it at the bottom, most likely. Let it bounce and then see what happens. But yeah, Juan Soto, broken uptrend. There's a few things in here. So PSA 9 is going to try and throw you a lifeline. Again, these things are holding up relatively better, and it's at the bottom. It's a long-term range here. So if that can hold and get a bounce, then maybe we see a little stability in those PSA 10s as the price relative becomes a lot more favorable for the 10s. So, all right. These are a couple of names that are, well, we just did these, Acuna and Soto, but these are the golds, and these are the PSA 10 golds, and they're going right along with the, I think this is Acuna and this one is Soto. They're going on with the rest of the PSA 10s, and they're getting kind of hammered. But if you look at the PSA 9s and golds, they are continuing to make new highs. And so if you're looking for areas of the market that are doing well, holding up relatively well, those numbered cards, again, in kind of that lower collector grade, are holding up pretty well. There's still demand for that, and you can see how they've done. You look at the 10s and their price appreciation, but look what the 9s have done. They've done really, really well. So, Juan Soto up 207% in the 10, up 340% in the 9, and they continue to make new highs. And so we pointed this out a couple weeks ago that the golds are holding in, and that continues to be the case here. Fernando Tatis rated here said, you know what, this seems like that he had his injury. So this seems like an interesting spot to buy us a couple weeks ago, and then he hit 5 home runs. But now he's back at this level again, so you got to hope that you can catch another bounce. And this has happened before, and so let's see if he can catch another bounce here. So momentum is, again, it's trending down like with everything else, and maybe next week we'll throw that in here. But you can see $231 on the 10, $81 on the 9, so you're looking at a $240 price on the 10 or something like that. So maybe it catches a little bit of a bid, but it's at the bottom of its range, which has been a good buying spot over the last year, and we'll see if that happens again here. So, all right, Lou Bob, really quick, trending down here, but I don't think people with his injury, it's kind of interesting, people aren't capitulating on him. They're not getting rid of their Lou Bob. They're hanging on, and they're treating it as a buying opportunity. So they think he's young enough and he's going to recover, and he was having a great season under the radar. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, bottom of the range, interesting spot for Lou Bob overall. Bo Bichette, it doesn't get much lower than this. So if you look at your PSA 10 for $60, it seems interesting enough. So greatest start to the season ever? Not really, but I think his prospects are longer term look really, really good here. So you have a minor uptrend here and it's broken, and so you can consider this kind of a downtrend, and he's still kind of in it close to the bottom. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But this has been an area with enough buying that this seems like an interesting spot. And so when you're looking at speculation, and he's speculation, Acuna speculation, Soto speculation, anybody who's been around for less than 7 or 8 years is speculative. So this is a pretty good price for that. So a lot of speculative names are much higher. When you get into $50 or $60, you're talking about guys that maybe having a good couple seasons or playing at an all-star level, but you don't get this from a young guy that could produce a lot over the longer term here. So I think that's an interesting spot. So again, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of buying in here, and here you are again, and it just seems really, really cheap for Bo Bichette. So, all right, Jacob deGrom, monster mover the past couple of weeks, and gave it all back. So, I was looking at this one. I didn't post or anything like that, but you've been around watching these for any length of time. You know that these low volume moves are to be sold. They're going to come back to a level where there's a lot more buying, and this is that level. So, it was up over $1,000, or I think right around $1,000. High price, $1,050. And there's just two people that thought that was maybe the price, and there was actually a little bit of buying in here. But as soon as it started to go down, these people are like, "Oh, I'm out," and so those sellers overwhelmed the buyers. And now you're traveling back down into an area where there's probably more interest in that particular card, and that's sub $500. So you got cut in half, or you're about to get cut in half, probably pretty quickly here. So $625 on the 10. The 9, $250. So it implies a little bit higher PSA 10 price, but that might also have to come down a little bit as well here. So Albert Pujols released by the the Angels, and we'll see what happens with him. But this is the first ballot Hall of Famer. But this uptrend has been broken, and it's been a while since we've looked at this card here. But we said there's a lot of buying in this area here as this goes up. Probably look forward to return to this area here. So Top Time sounds like it's a lot of fun here. So all right, $700 to like $300. So it's a wide range, no doubt about it. But it looks like it may want to return to that area overall here. But anytime you get a chance to get a Albert Pujols, do it. But I think you might be in for a little bit of a better opportunity now. But again, it just takes one person to shoot this thing right back up, because there's not a lot of buys here. This is going back over to 2004, a much longer term chart here. So it's an expensive card, and there's not a lot of people that can do that. And so it only takes one to push it around. And a lot of people may go for the paper rather than the chrome. But it looks like it wants to head just a bit lower, like the rest of the market. I mean, there's very few names that are going up. And when you see before we get to Baker, when you see fewer and fewer names making those highs, it's kind of a warning sign, as the market advances, that the market is just getting a little soft. Everyone starts to pile in those names, and when they go out, then those cracks, and they come out of everything else and just compress into one or two names, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. So, all right, Baker Mayfield, do a couple football here. We've got a couple basketball, then a few things we'll finish up with hockey and a Pokemon. All right, the trend is up here, and you had a fake break here. And when you have these fake breaks, we know they go to the opposite end of the range really, really fast. So if they sustain down here, then it's a broken trend. But if they come back into the range, usually they go to the other opposite side pretty quickly here. So fake break below, top of the range very quickly. Fake break above, bottom of the range very quickly. So there's probably a little bit more downside in Baker. So we'll see what happens here. The momentum is starting to roll over just a little bit. So if this came back down to $300, it would not surprise me at some point. I'm sitting at $500 now. So again, not an insignificant move. Seems like a decent spot to maybe take something off the table here. But again, the momentum's been good, but it's heated, it's high, and it's starting to roll over just a little bit. So not a confirmed sell or anything like that, but seems like a decent spot to do something, unless he has an incredible, see what happens in the offseason, incredible training camp. So the draft news is starting to come off just a little bit here. So Kyler Murray, this is a player I like, mostly because I have him on my dynasty team. So traveling slightly upwards here, but you've got a well-defined range. Here's your top, here's your bottom, here's your top coming off again. Now you're in kind of no man's land here, but momentum, if you look at it, it's nice and low and starting to flatten out just a little bit here. So maybe it doesn't have to revisit the bottom of the range here, or just goes down gently. And we'll see what happens. So again, right now, kind of no man's land. The PSA 9 does imply a $390 price tag, which is cheap to the PSA 10. So 10 can come down, or maybe the 9 rises just a little bit here. But I'd like to see this momentum kind of flatten out just a little bit. And if it can cross up again, then you should see some. That means that there's a lot of shorter term buying. And then those prices will start to rise back up again here. So not much to do right now. Ideally, the way you'd want to play this is, buy a bunch of them or buy one here and then plan on buying another if it goes down to here, or buy a couple here and just start to, take one off if it goes lower, or sell them as they go higher. But, most people are just buying one of these things. So it's like, well, it makes it a little bit different if you can't manage your positions. And, that's how it goes with cards. So that's why this is probably more for entertainment value, because there's probably not a lot you can do with it, overall, unless you're sitting on, 1,000 of these things. So Patrick Mahomes, it's important to look at the leaders. They're going to tell you the direction of the market. If those guys start to crack, then it's trouble for everybody else for the most part. So pretty good uptrend here, starting to compress a little bit. Top of the range coming out very quickly here, but again, the trend is up, and this is an interesting spot where there's a lot of buying for this particular card. And that's the raw Mahomes in the Donruss rated rookie. I just have a sucker for rated rookies, but that's a decent area here, and he's got a sure, it has a nice long-term track here. All right, couple basketball here. Michael Jordan. This is the 1990 Fleer. This is probably my favorite Jordan card. I love the picture on that one here. So, but the trend is down. He spiked with the rest of them here. This is the PSA 9. Big spike, and it's a low volume move. Just let it go down, and you'd think it would come back to kind of this area here. And that's kind of what it's doing here. So flirting with this this trend line, but the trend is down on that particular card. So it's not the most expensive thing in the world right now. The current price. The current price $100 or whatever. So end of the world, no. If you want that card in a nice example, but the trend is down, so be prepared to lose a couple bucks on that one if it keeps going the direction that it is. And Luka, looking at some of the current day goats, the current greatest of all time. I don't know how that really works out, but anyways, momentum is down and the longer term trend is down. So we liked it in here. Said, oh my gosh, getting a couple bounces. Worked out for a short period of time, but nope, it went lower, and it continues to just travel south here. So honestly, with this one, there isn't a lot of like well-defined flat areas for this thing to come to. It's just a slow grind up, and then again, there's symmetry in the market. Now you've got a slow grind down, and it's continuing to trend down. So it's at the bottom of the range, and it looks interesting enough, but it hasn't worked yet. So I'm not sure that this is the time either. So we'll see what happens in playoffs or anything like that. But again, you want to just kind of combine this with this momentum crossing back up, and that would be a better buy signal. But for now, your risk reward is, here's your reward, and your risk is low. But again, it continues to grind lower. So you just kind of evaluate your own risk tolerance and time horizon on that one here. So AD holding up relatively well to the rest of the market. $500 down to $200, so I guess not holding up that well. So high price was $500, current price, so it's been chopped in half. So I guess not holding. That's the problem with these log charts. If you don't take your time a little bit, which I don't, I talk too fast. So trend is up, compressing lower. So we'll see how this kind of works out. But it's already been cut in half, so maybe that's enough, and maybe we get a little bit of a spike here. So again, your reward is here, your risk is low, and if it comes down into here, then your reward is high, and then there's very little reward, and there's a lot of risk, because it probably comes down to that $40-$50 area. So long ways to go down if it can't hold this, because there's just not a lot of buying in that card. So all right, we'll finish up with a hockey and a Pokemon here. Connor McDavid, Young Gun. So it's batting around in this range, And this is a $3,000 on the low end and $4,000 on the high end, so not insignificant moves by any stretch here. But you can see that the momentum, it's been really strong, but it is rolling over here. So expect this thing to kind of roll over and produce a sell signal, and maybe break down. And if you're lucky, you kind of hang on to $2,000, but you could really slide back down in this area where there's a lot of buying, and that's $1,000 to $1,500 or something like that. So we'll see how that plays out. But if you have this card and you've made a decent amount of money, if you're using it as an investment, this is probably a decent spot to take some off the table, especially if you bought anywhere in here. If you bought in here, hope you enjoy the card, but if you can't accept losses on, if you leverage yourself on it or anything like that, you want to be careful. And I think this is the last one here. I only know Blastoise and Charizard, so I kind of go in between them back and forth. But again, you had your monster Pokemon spike, and this thing is continues to trend down. So it's near the top of its range, and whenever it hits that, it pukes. And so now you're in this area where you've had a lot of buying before. So your hope is that it kind of holds on. If it cannot hold this range, there's not a lot here to support it, and you're falling into this area here, this $80-$90 area, as people find something else to do with their money. So, all right, that's what I got for you. As always, if there's anybody you want to look at or whatever, just leave it in the comments. I'll take care of it. Hope you get something out of it. Mostly hope you enjoyed it and have a great weekend. Thank you very much.